And then I will post it to my YouTube page as well, just in case somebody wants to go and look at it there. Okay, so this is the card that we're gonna make. Everybody has their Big Shot handy. You guys would have gotten a package like this. Mine won't have as much in there as yours does, but I tried to give you kind of the same layout that, provide me with the same layout that you guys would have so that I could easily direct you to what you need. So right now you can set aside the ribbon. You are going to need this little bag of design elements. You can set aside your black card base, and there is stuff in there, so just don't dump that over. And the same thing with your crumb cake card base. You're just going to set that one aside. We don't need that. You do need this piece of Oso Ombre. This is, you're going to use this side here. No, sorry, you don't need that one. You need this one. Apologies. You need this piece. You're going to cut your flowers out of this. And behind that, so this is yours to, you know, there's a good strip there you can do something with. You are going to need this piece here. You're going to need these two hearts that I've pre-cut for you. This piece of Oso Ombre can be set aside. We don't need that right now. And then you will have your Rococo Rose card base. So does everyone have these pieces that they've pulled out of the larger package for now? So there's the scrap sheet of Oso Ombre. There is the Rococo Rose card base. There is the Oso Ombre with the circles on it that has been cut with the rectangle stitch dies. And then there is the floral heart dies that have been cut both in white and in Rococo Rose. Everybody's got that?
I think so.
Good. Okay. I do have gallery view on. You will also have in the little bag, you are going to want to pull out the white always, as well as this always, the black shadow piece. In here, you should also have some scraps of white. And the rest of this can pretty much be set aside for the moment. So I'm just gonna get that all, put to the side. I like keeping it in the bag until I need it, and then nothing disappears on me. There will be a couple of extra pieces you'll find in that bag too, because I've given you any of the negative spaces that we're not using. So to start with this one, what I would suggest, you're also going to need your embossing powder. And we're going to start with those pieces first. So have your dies handy, because we will be using the large flower die and the second flower die to cut out our 3 flowers. And like I said, we'll work on those first. So you're going to want to mount those 2 onto a block. And you're going to want your Versamark ink and some white embossing powder. If you don't have that, the alternative was to use either white ink, or you could also use black memento ink as well.
So the large flower and the small flower.
Correct. You want to mount both of those.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I'm just going to bring in my embossing powders, because that's where we're going to start. So on your scrap of Rococo Rose, you can decide where you want each of the flowers. On my sample card, I did do the dark flower up here at the top. and I did the 2 lighter flowers along the bottom. You should have 2 sheets of this because you are going to be doing 2 of the cards. So you should be able to get 3 or 4 out of 1 sheet, and then this sheet will be completely used up. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and stamp my large.
So the large is dark and 2 small lights on each card.
Yes, that is what I did. That doesn't mean that's what you have to do though, Janet.
No,
But that's what I did.
I like to follow the rules and then I'll go rogue later.
Okay. So I'm just stamping with my Versamark, and it's invisible, so you can't see it at this point. But I am going to stamp both of my smaller flowers on here as well, so that I'm only going into my Versamark or into my embossing folder or embossing powder once. And I keep mine in a little Ziploc container, and I just try to dip. This paper's too big for that, but
is that white embossing powder, Laura?
I have white embossing powder, yeah.
Right. I'm just going to step away because my embossing station's on the other side.
Absolutely. So I'm just putting some embossing powder on here. I am trying to make sure that all my flower images are covered with it. And I'm pretty happy with how that came out. So I'm carefully going to set that down. And before I dump my embossing powder, I am going to get rid of that. So bear with me a moment. Otherwise, I'll end up with embossing powder all over the floor. That's not fun to clean up. Okay, is everybody following me so far? I'm going too fast, let me know. You can see everybody's quietly working. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to heat this up with my heat gun, and it will get a little loud when I turn it on. You probably won't be able to hear me. So if any of you, if this is your first time using a heat gun and the embossing powder, you don't want to get right close to the paper. You want to stay about 1 inch or so away. When you are heating up embossing powder, you're going to want your heat gun on the number 2 setting, which is along here. You can see little numbers. So you want it on the number 2 setting. For embossing powder, the number 1 setting is for setting ink if you have really wet ink and you need it to dry. And you're just going to move your embossing tool in small, slow circles until your embossing powder becomes a shiny and smooth instead of the powdery dots that there are on there now. So if you need to watch, you can watch in the camera. The nice thing about using a big sheet of paper like this is your hands aren't going to get anywhere close to that heat because the heat gun is quite warm. I often use some tweezers to hold the paper just to keep the heat off my hands. So you can see the change in that big flower versus the little flowers. You don't want to stay in one place too long with embossing powder because you can scorch the paper or the powder itself. All right, so there's my version. this time around because I stamped in slightly different spots, I think, than last time. And I'm going to bring in my mini. I'm just cutting that into a strip so that I can work with it. Oops. And on the mini, I can use that platform, and I think I need this one. Nope, this is embossing. Okay, so it's just that one. So it's a number 1 and a number 2, and then my paper. And I'm gonna cut out both my large flower on here, except I need a couple of pieces of it. I'm gonna hold my embossing, or not embossing, my dies down with a couple of flags. If any of you work in an office, these tags that go on the edge of paper from Post-it are awesome. I like them better than washi tape because they seem to stick less to the paper than washi tape. I've sometimes had problems with, so that will hold my die in place and not pull my paper up. And I'm also going to cut one of the little flowers in the same run. Whoops, oh, maybe this is no longer sticky. You can also use Post-it notes for this. There we go. One thing I've learned in using this little die cut machine is that you cannot have paper overhanging the edge on this far side. If my paper went past, it's really hard to get your machine started. Alana, you're on mute if you're trying to say something.
It just looked like our list shortened, so I just wondered if somebody dropped off.
Janet, Wendy. Who should we have here? Maria should be here.
Yeah, she's there.
Wendy, Janet.
Oh, maybe Jen.
Mireille,
Mireille,
sorry.
that's okay.
Charlene. And Jen. So maybe it's just Jen who dropped off.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll mute myself again.
Okay. Just remember you're muted. So that run through will give us a couple of our flowers, and then we need to run through the big shot or the little shot or the embossing, cut and emboss machine. I don't think it'll take me forever to get used to that new name, but it is what it is, right? So we will run the second little flower through. And then we can stamp our greeting and we can assemble our card. All right, there's all 3 of my flowers. I'm gonna move this stuff aside. And we can.
Are we doing 2 of each card, 1 of each card?
You have enough supplies to do 2 of each, but we anticipated in an hour and a half, you can probably only do 1. So there'll be 1 for you to do on your own, and you can change up the design at that point if you want.
Okay, that's a mistake I made. I did all my embossing for all of it, and I'm going, how's Laura ahead of me so fast?
I Janet, I actually embossed all of them at the same time too, just
Yeah.
because I had the embossing powder out. But
It
I'll make,
is faster that way. Yep.
I'll only make the one card, but I just thought it was easier. I've got everything out that way.
Yeah. I should have prefaced by saying that.
I thought, you gave me extra supplies. That's really great, but
You will find that with the ice cream class that we're going to do, as well as Alana's class this afternoon. If you're registered for that one, we have given you enough supplies for 2 cards, but we are only expecting you to make 1 in class.
okay.
Okay. So I'll let you guys catch up a little bit.
Oh,
And
I love these flowers.
I know they're some of my favorites. There's so many different ways you can use them. Like the Oso Ombre is a really nice cheat to get some different variations in the color for it, but you can obviously hand color them as well.
Well, that's why I like the set, because I'll hand color mine.
Yeah. You can use blends, or you can use the blender pens to hand color them and get
Well,
different
you know I
appearances.
won't be using the blends, Laura.
I know you won't be, but for the rest of us. So the next thing everybody should do is pull out their Forever and stamp and find your little pieces. There's a little piece of Whisper White scrap that I threw into your bags. And you are just gonna stamp in Memento.
Oh, I lost one of my flowers and I don't know what happened to it.
Uh-oh.
How did that happen so quickly?
You stood up and shook out your shirt, Wendy?
Yeah, I don't have it anywhere.
Say that.
But luckily I've got another one, so I will cut that out and
You'll
then
cut
I'll
it?
find the other one later.
Yeah, it'll be found. One thing I really like about this stamp set is I think everybody just naturally goes towards it for weddings or anniversaries with that kind of sentiment in mind. But I've done some sympathy cards with it. I've done some like thinking of you kind of cards with it. It's actually quite versatile.
It's the weirdest thing. Oh, well.
Really bugs us when something like that happens and you have something disappear.
Well, I cut the big one and the little one out at the same time. Excuse me, and that's the one I'm missing.
Okay. So if everyone's got their greeting stamped,
Yep.
okay, what we're gonna do with this is if you look at my card, I have always and forever, but the stamp says forever and. So we have to get the and to go to the other side of forever. So the way I did that is just to hand cut around it. And I liked it to be cut quite a bit closer to the text than the slip of paper I have cut for myself. So I am just fussy cutting a little bit around that. Which, if anybody knows me, fussy cutting is not my favorite thing to do, but
Oh, I hate it.
sometimes it's necessary to give us the right look on our cards. I've accepted that.
I'm not sure I have.
I will avoid it like the plague, but I
To be
will.
brutally honest.
I will do it if I have to. Just need to pull out some.
I did a challenge and I can't remember which one it was. I texted Alana. I said, I'm freaking fussy cutting.
Oh,
But you're right. There's
Serious
sometimes you have to do it.
there are. Yep.
She's not kidding. She fussy cut like every little bit of that paper. There was like the teeniest little bit of supplies left. It was amazing.
Wow. That's being very efficient then.
I don't know what possessed me that night, but it wasn't my
Oh.
natural for me. Let's just say that.
So
That's
that was
funny.
my first time embossing.
And
I love it. I have embossing powder everywhere. Like all over my phone. It's everywhere.
you will get better at it.
Oh, yeah. Well, because I accidentally stamped the solid part of the flower instead of the,
Oh,
so that got me all, oh,
all
Oh.
frazzled a little bit.
I
That's
got
okay.
a little frazzled.
Who was that? Who's talking? I can't see everybody.
It's
That's
Charlene.
Charlene.
Hi, Charlene.
And I didn't burn down the house with that embossing thingamajigger.
You'll get another opportunity to do that today too in Alana's class. So you'll have
Great.
lots of practice.
That's great.
Wendy, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Sorry, I was coughing. Charlene, it never
Yeah.
gets old either. I've been heat embossing for 20 years and it always thrills me.
Oh, good. I did a good investment there.
This is my little tip. I don't know if Laura mentioned it. I always emboss on a piece of paper and I fold it in half. And then I emboss on top of it. And then when I go back to put it in the jar, it doesn't go all over the place. It just makes a nice little funnel. So-
Oh, I'm gonna do that.
You can
Okay.
have some fancy trays and all sorts of things, but works just
That
That
like
works.
works too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, free throwing it didn't work, FYI.
Been there.
We all have. Okay, so does everybody have their parts now? You should have your forever and stamped and cut and your flowers stamped, embossed, and cut.
Yes.
All right, so once you have that, you can take, oops, my hearts are intertwined here. You can take your Rococo Rose heart and you are going to take your white heart, and you don't want them facing the same way because they will obviously just overlap exactly. So you're going to have one facing one way and the other facing the other way. So if I have them like this, they're overlapping exactly, and we're not getting that layered effect that we want from the original card. So my white one goes face up. I can separate them again. And my Rococo Rose one goes face down. And the way I glued these together, I used some Tombow liquid glue. That was just my preference. And let me get a silicone sheet so I don't end up with glue all over my workspace. I just put some glue on some of the more solid areas closer to the heart. I certainly don't need as much as that came out there. So just as close as I could to the edge of the heart on some of these more solid areas, because the rest of these little detailed areas will not overlap exactly. So the only place that you really have the opportunity to hold the glue down is around that heart. You might, I think on mine, I can see it's going to line up that I can have a little bit of glue on this one here and on this one here. So just, lay it down and see where you can put some additional glue if you feel like you're going to need that. And then you want to pretty much line up those hearts. Now they don't have to be perfect because on this card, you can see you don't actually see the hearts that are behind there. So it doesn't have to be a perfect match. In fact, it's probably better if it's not perfect, and then you get a little bit more of that layering effect.
Very pretty.
I totally stole this idea from Melody Hyde. She has a variation of this card that is absolutely stunning. It's in multiple colors, and if I
How do you
hadn't
spell her last
already
name?
been, sorry,
How do you spell her last name?
Hyde. If I hadn't already been in love with this set, that would have just, I mean, it put me over the top, but that would have just sealed the deal for me. So
Is it fair to just jump in and say she works for Concept Art?
absolutely.
One of the actual designers at Stampin' Up. Her stuff is always like, I just love what she does.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
I love that
amazing.
you did this take on her card. Very good job, Laura.
Thank you. So from here, I would glue this heart down to our backing, and I'm just going to flip over my silicone sheet so I don't have glue anywhere. And then we can build the rest of our layers from there. So this goes down flat against there. I will be using my Tombow glue again. And again, on here, you can just put glue wherever you kind of have that flat space so that it has a little bit of room to run. And you should have some additional options because of the white and Rococo Rose, or on this side, it's the Bermuda Bay layering. So you have some additional spots that you can secure things down.
Oh
Oh no, what?
no, I glued my heart down to my mat.
Oh no.
That's okay. That's a Janet thing.
Did you get it up?
I did.
Good.
I'm working on that lovely mat that Alana gifted me, and this thing, I'm telling you, she should sell them. It's amazing. It's a laminated graph sheet from Stampin' Up.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
yes.
those are great.
They
It's the
are
best.
wonderful.
I use it for everything. It's just awesome.
I have a few of those as well, and they are great. All right.
Ah,
So that is that layer down. So you guys are caught up to that?
Not quite.
Not quite. Okay, that's fair.
Just about. The gluing incident threw me off.
All right. When you are done, what you are going to want to do is play with how you want your flowers to look in that heart. So that's what I'm going to do next. And again, the flowers don't cover the entire middle section, but that's okay as long as you're aware of where there's a hole. So in mine, the hole is going to be here, and I'm just going to want to make sure that my always is going to cover that hole. So
So
just
we're
to
not
figure-
mounting the back on our card yet, correct?
Not yet. We're going to do that last. Okay, so once you've figured out the placement of your flowers, you can go ahead and adhere those down. We're going to use some dimensionals. So I've got some just over to the side here, and I'm going to stick down the larger flower first because it's going to be the bottom layer.
And I'm sorry, Laura, did you say to cover the hole of the heart?
No, I said, don't worry if you have a space in the hole. Let me move my flowers
Okay.
back because the flowers won't completely fill in that entire spacing. So
Okay.
what you're going to do is make sure that how you place your always will help fill that in.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm a little hard of hearing, so sometimes I don't catch everything.
No, that's okay. You just asked me to repeat it. There is also some noise from my end in the background, so I apologize for that.
I didn't hear it because I'm hard of hearing, so it's on there.
Okay, so that's how I'm gonna lay mine out. And I'm gonna go ahead and pretty much stick them down. So you guys can do that as soon as you're ready.
are you putting all of them on dimensionals?
I am, yes.
It's funny because when I pulled my hearts out of my bag, I thought, well, this is a unique color combination, blue and white on a pink background. And I'm looking at it and I didn't think to turn it over.
You know, it's funny because I actually started this card in the blues and I decided I didn't like I wanted a softer look. And so I just turned everything over. And then I was much happier with the way it was going. I was trying to stay away from the traditional, you know, Valentine's kind of colors, but that's just where it wanted to go for me. So sometimes you can't fight the design.
Yeah, it's funny how that works out.
Right? Okay, so I've got all my flowers glued down. Oh my goodness. Can you guys hear that?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
You're
think
so lucky you guys found them.
I think the family is taking them outside in the backyard, but of course, because there's 9 of them and there's only 3 people to carry them out. I mean, even when there's 4 of us, we can only carry 2 at a time. So there's always somebody left behind and they're worried that they're really going to be left behind.
My daughter and, well, my son already had one. He has an Australian Shepherd. And then
Oh,
they
nice.
they got a bigger dog. So they've got Arthur, and Renee just bought Judy. She's a purebred blue heeler.
Oh, my.
Oh, wow.
And Renee said to me the other day, like she grew up on the farm and she always had pets, but she said, you know, Mom, you don't understand how fast you get attached to them and they grab your heart. She says, I come home from work and it's just like Judy greets me, or I pick her up from doggy daycare and it's just like that dog has them hook, line, and sinker already.
Oh, yeah. It takes no time at all.
And I think it's just wonderful.
That's the hard part about fostering, is letting them go.
Oh, I can imagine.
Especially when you're as attached to them as we have been with these guys, having to bottle feed them and stuff like that. You know, the bond you create is a lot different from
Oh, yes.
the one you create as just a pet. So
Yeah, I can imagine.
excuse me. Okay, so if everyone's kind of caught up to that point, what we need to do next is attach our always together. And I totally wasn't thinking if I was to do this over again, I probably would have put this on an adhesive sheet, but that was not in my thought process when I was cutting these for you guys. So I attached all my other ones with Tombow glue, and that's what I recommend that you do with this. And again, it's just putting glue in some of the strategic spots that are a little bit wider and have a little bit of room for that glue to run should you put a little bit too much on. So that's what I'm doing. Just putting it in a couple of spots here. And then I am going to, whoops, maybe glue it down to that frame. The other thing I do like about using the liquid glue versus some of those adhesive tape type options is the ability to just slide things into place a little bit. I often find for myself, those adhesive, whether it's the tear tape or something else, they often land in a spot that isn't where I want them, and then peeling them off is much more difficult than using the liquid glue, which does allow you a little bit of room to slide stuff around.
That is amazing how that actually pops when it's shadowed.
Right? Yeah.
It looks
It makes
great.
a huge difference.
Yeah, it does. All right. And then this one, once you have that ready, is just going to go across wherever you've kind of made space for it on your card. And I attached that flat. So again, I'm just going to use Tombow glue. I've placed it. I know where I can put glue down that it's going to attach. So for instance, I'm not going to put any under this big circly swirl of the A because there's actually nothing for it to attach to there. It's loose. because of the raised flower. So I'm only going to put glue from about the top of the A to the top of the Y. I can't put any on the tail of the Y because there's nothing to attach it to. So just be cognizant of that when where you are placing it, when you're going to glue it. I'm
Oh,
going to go ahead and
so pretty.
do that. And the nice thing with the frames here is you do have a little bit more room to put glue down, so you can get a nice good attachment. All right, so there is the front, and now all we need to do is add this forever and always. And I'm going to do that by attaching some, hi Arwen. You know what, you cannot be in here. Excuse me a moment. You need to go out. Sorry about that. My dog just invited herself in the room. All right, so with the forever and I just used a little bit of dimensionals, and what I did for that was just to cut some very small pieces off of some of the edging that I have left from a sheet of mini dimensionals, because the and is extremely tiny, so you are going to have to custom cut for that one.
Did you put the forever on first?
No, my forever is tucked over here. I'm just gonna put the dimensional pieces on the back, Janet, and
Okay.
then I will figure out where they're gonna go, where I can place them, and then I'll glue them down.
Okay.
So I'm probably actually gonna do, I'm gonna do it like that. So once I have that placed, I just peel the backing off of the dimensional and I can glue it down. I'm just kind of nesting it under the things between the tails. So those are going to go down right there. And that is done. And now we can attach that to our card base. And I just did that using some tear tape, which has disappeared off my desk. I'm gonna grab another roll. And for that, I just flip it over. I put tear tape all around the edges and I glue it down. So how's everybody coming along with their designs?
Okay, I gotta move my end. I see what you did. I was gonna say my whole Y is gone, but that's because I put my end in the wrong spot. So you covered the tail of the A.
I covered the tail of the A a little bit, yeah.
Okay,
On my original, I have it quite covered. On this one, I didn't cover the tail of the A, but at the tail of the Y is quite covered.
yeah, I like to see a little bit of the Y because it looks funny if you don't.
Yeah.
I'm glad you changed colors because I hardly ever use this color.
I haven't used a lot of this color either, Wendy, but ironically with this set, I've used it almost exclusively.
Yeah, it's perfect. I like it because it's not red, which is really a traditional Valentine's color, but
Yeah.
still has that same appeal. I love this card.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, something has happened to my video, and I think my husband is fooling around with the Wi-Fi, so bear with me a moment. I'm just going to go and put an end to that. I'll be right.
Uh-oh.
That sounds like me. And is someone using the microwave?
That one is hilarious.
We're hoping that this Wi-Fi extender or whatever it is that Ryan's getting, he's thinking I can go on a different network and then we won't have.
You know
that.
what? We got the Wi-Fi extender thing because it's important for us because Robert trains. He does training. He's on a Zoom-like program for hours every day. And so we really needed it. And it made a huge difference.
Oh, that's good to know.
Oh, so pretty.
It's gorgeous. It really
Yeah.
is.
I do love it. All right. And I found my flower.
Pardon me, Wendy?
All right. That was great. Okay, I'm gonna just set everything aside to do the rest of them.
Okay. Did that give you guys a couple of minutes to catch up?
That was perfect.
All right, good. So everybody's got that card
Still,
done?
does he have a black eye or anything? Is he good?
Not yet. He swears he didn't do anything. And I'm like, well, my feed went down, so you did something. All right.
What did I do with this?
So I'm gonna
It's
move
very,
those-
very nice, Laura.
Thank you. Gonna move those ones off to the side, and we'll do this one here next.
Okay, great.
So for that one, you will need your crumb cake piece. You're gonna need your 2 lengths of ribbon.
Two different lengths.
Yes, there are 2 different lengths.
Okay.
And
Just
then,
finishing gluing on my front. Hold on one
Okay.
second, Laura.
we'll give you a minute to catch up,
I'm
Charlie.
starting to panic there. Oh, no.
Don't
Hey.
panic.
I did it.
Can you clean Versamark off of your stamps on your regular stamp cleaning pad, or does that have to be separate?
No.
I usually use the chamois on mine.
No, you can use it.
Okay.
But in fact, if you leave it on, if it's the first time you've used those stamps, it's a good
Conditioner.
conditioner. So you don't, I don't actually wash them off the first time.
Oh, okay. Well, that's it. That's something I didn't know. Thank you.
What was that tip?
If
That-
you,
Go ahead,
you-
Wendy.
if you if you haven't used your stamps yet, if you put Versamark on them, so in this case, I hadn't used my set yet, so I used the Versamark for the last card, but I didn't wash the Versamark off of it because it will condition the
Okay.
stamps. So I
Okay.
usually put some on new stamps.
Especially
get
with the
to that.
photopolymer ones, I find it's extremely
don't-
helpful.
I don't do it with the rubber ones, but I do it for these ones.
Yeah.
Okay, what do
Thank
I
you.
need here?
Okay, I'm all ready.
You're ready? Okay, so you're gonna grab your crumb cake base.
Yep.
And there will have been 2 lengths of ribbon in your package. You're gonna need those. Inside that crumb cake base, you will find a card front that has been sliced off. You will find a piece of foil Specialty DSP.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, that is
Okay.
pretty.
And then you're gonna find this little strip of Blackberry Bliss. So you can put all of that off to the side. The card base you can kind of put a little further off to the side. We'll use this other stuff a little earlier, then we'll use that. And you're going to need from this little bag, you will need the Blackberry Bliss stitch square. You will need this little piece of linen thread. You'll need the 2 pieces of crumb cake, or you may have 1 piece. Some people have 1, some people have 2. It just depended what I had for scraps, but you'll need that. You will need this piece of Very Vanilla. What else do you need out of here?
So I got a long strip of crumb cake in with my card. That would be the same thing,
That
right?
would be the same thing, correct.
Right.
Oops, you need some rhinestones, and hopefully yours have remained attached. I see one of mine has popped off.
Is there something else I can help
Oh,
with?
no, there isn't. Siri was very helpful, not so much. And then the other thing you need to pull out of here is this heart charm. And these 3 little flowers, which of course are the last things to come out of my bag. So that should give you all the pieces for this card. The rest can just be, whoops, tucked away for the next one.
And it's the clear bling we need.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, I've got a clear bling.
Okay. So just check and make sure you have the same pieces on your workspace that I have currently on mine.
Okay, I'll just get some bling. Hang on.
Okay.
My bling is probably stuck to something somewhere.
Oh,
Is
it
this-
must be because it should be in there. Oops. Now my feed went down again. There we go.
Is
But lots
this-
of times I'd be craft and I'll say, oh, I didn't get that. And then I go to bed and there it is sticking on my sleeve.
Yes, that is often what happens.
Is this what you want us to have cut in half?
Yes, you can have that. You don't need to cut it in half though, Charlene. You'll just use half of it for this card and half for the next.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So to start, we will, oh, and you know what else you need? Is this plain sheet of Oso Ombre. Because that's where we're going to start. So pull that out. You can tuck the rest of this aside.
Oh. It was hiding.
It was hiding
It was.
because it was on the green side.
No, it was just hiding.
Okay. All right, so on this, you can decide where you want to stamp your flowers. You have ample room because you do have a full page of 6x6, but if you're strategic, you'll be able to save some of that to use on another project. What you want to do is stamp for each card. You can stamp all of them now, but you'll only cut 1 set for the card we're making right now. You're going to stamp 2 large flowers and 4 small flowers. So if you're making 1 card and you only want to stamp for 1 card, 1 large flower and 2 small.
And I apologize. What color did you say?
You're going to stamp in the Memento,
Okay.
so in black ink, if you don't have Memento.
2 large and 4 small.
Correct.
If you want to make both stamp for both cards, right?
Right.
I think my second card, I'll hand color those flowers instead, so.
See, here's where I should have used my Stamparatus.
Oh, yeah.
Boo.
Or a foam piercing mat.
Yeah, well, you know what? I never use my foam piercing mats, but I'm going to pull one out so I don't wreck another
I
section.
always do. I'm addicted to them.
I forget about it. tend to get a decent stamp most of the time anyway. But of course, not when I'm on video.
That's Memento, Laura?
Yes, that is Memento.
Do you think I could find a bigger block for that little flower?
I don't really think you could, Wendy.
I have a bigger one.
Do you?
I do.
You may need that one then. There we go.
Oh, I love these flowers.
Me too. All right, and I'm keeping my flowers, my little ones, on the same area of the page, and that way I've only used about a third or so of my paper. So I have lots of room for another project later. So I'm actually going to give that a quick trim so I can send this through my mini. I really hope they come out with the magnetic plates for these guys soon.
Yeah.
I miss that.
Did you, do you have it for the large one?
I do. It is extremely warped though. Like, this is what it looks like for my big one. Like, it rocks.
Ah,
But I do still use it. I just use the flags to tape stuff in place in the center there. I just prefer the magnetic over the other. The other I find always slips for me. Even if I have them, seem to have them taped in place. All right, so then I'm gonna grab my dies.
pardon me while I stand up, ladies.
You do what you need to do, right? That one's too close. All right. I'm gonna stick those down so that they stay. Oops. And I'm going to run those through. Sorry for the camera shake. It happens when you run the die cuts through on the same table as your camera. There's one. And
Die cutting
big one.
stuff for me the other day. I can't remember what I was on, but I was on something.
yeah,
And he was doing it on the desk, and there was another little shelf on the desk and a clock on top. So the clock came flying off the shelf.
no. Was it okay though?
Oh yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
I can't remember what video that was, what that was for. It might have just been, I don't know, but anyway. Yeah. It happens. It makes things shake.
Oh, speaking of, should we be drawing another bingo number right away here? Let's see.
We should have done 5 at 10:30 and another 5 in 3 minutes.
Okay, well, let's do 10 right now. And maybe you can share them with the breakout room.
Okay.
Let me find my screen though. I have to.
Hang on.
I will just not join them by audio because I did that last time. And then when I tried to come back into here, there was a I don't know if you noticed the feedback.
I did not.
From my end, it was like screeching. So I quickly shut off my video and audio, and that's why I dropped off and came back on. I was like,
Okay.
quick, just leave the call.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen for the bingo.
I'm just gonna-
And
Hang on, hang on.
I'm hanging. I'm hanging.
All right. Bingo.
You ready? Okay, so the first number is going to be B3. And then we have N35 and G53, I-19 and B2.
Well, that was better than the last round.
Good.
I got nothing.
Uh-oh.
So I guess not for you.
And Alana, you'll post those on the bingo.
Yeah,
You'll post them in the breakout room and you'll post them in the bingo
yeah.
post. Okay, perfect. And then I'll do the next 5 numbers
Oh,
for because in like a minute, my clock is going to turn over to 11 o'clock and we said 5 on the half hour. So we'll do them now. So it's going to be I-22, N45, O63, I-28,
got one.
and
Hey.
G55.
You.
All right, good. So we'll stop that share. And now you should see my screen featured again.
Yeah.
Did somebody drop off or did you guys just reorganize? No, maybe that's,
It's
Is
in the same order for me.
okay. Maria, yeah, okay, everyone's here. My screen's smaller, so it just felt like somebody dropped. Okay, so while I was doing that, you guys should have had your flowers cut and or stamped and cut. Everybody's got that?
Yep.
Okay. Then the next thing we're gonna do is stamp the Together Forever. And if you're pulling your dies out, because that is cut with a die, so you will need, I believe it's this longer one. Yeah. So it's not the longest one, but it's the medium greeting die. So you'll need to pull that out. And on a block, you are going to want to mount Forever. And well, Forever should have been mounted from last time, and you're also going to mount Together. And those are going to be stamped on your pieces of crumb cake that I gave you. And the way I stamped it so that I just got the Forever and not the and was I just wiped the and off with baby wipe, but you can mask it however you would like. So I'll do
That's
my,
in Memento.
that's in Memento, yes. I'm gonna stamp my Forever first. Actually, I'm gonna wipe off the and first because I just about forgot to do that. But that's all I do is I just take a baby wipe and clean off that one part of the stamp. And then you can use a wet paper towel, like whatever you've got. And then I stamped that down to get the Forever. And on my other piece of paper, because I have not enough room, I don't think on mine. Oh, I would have gone sideways with my Forever. I would have had enough room. But I'll go on my other piece of paper and I'm going to stamp the Together. Just like that. And then those pieces are going to be cut using my emboss and cut machine with this die. So those are your next steps. Some stuff away here to make space to be able to do that on camera.
Quick question for you, Laura.
Yeah,
If I do a broad, I know you haven't used this before, but do you think if I do broadcast message to all, do you think that's going to be like a voice message to all?
no, I think it's a like a text message that goes out.
Okay.
Try it.
Yeah.
What the heck? Why not?
Sounds good.
We're learning and it's a small group. It's safe.
Okay, I'm gonna. Oopsie. Did all of you see that message?
Yep.
Okay, I was trying to hit enter, but that actually sent it. So sorry about that.
That's okay. Okay. So I'm just going to run through those two words so that I cut them out with this really pretty frame. So there's one of them. I feel like you're sending everybody these really important messages like we get on the tickers on TV.
I don't know, where does the message show up? I'm sorry.
On mine, it showed up on the top of my screen.
Okay, but the actual message or just the, like, all I got was a message from Alana.
Yeah, and mine said Alana Wharf, and then it said bingo numbers. Like now it says Alana Wharf to everyone, 11 a.m. bingo numbers, and then it lists the numbers out.
Oh,
you
I
see that?
didn't.
Mine's still
Oh,
there.
yes, I see it now.
Okay. I believe that might go into the chat as well.
That's where well, it was in the chat. No, it was not in the chat. Sorry. It was in the breakout rooms. It was in our participant list, I guess. And it says broadcast message to all at the bottom. And
Yeah,
when I went into the chat, it would only show it to the people in
to the
this
people in this
actual
room.
Yeah.
But if you miss the broadcast message, I don't know that there's anywhere to go.
I'll message one of those girls and ask.
Like, I don't think you can re-see it if you miss it come up.
Okay.
But that, I mean, we're okay because we're here and we're talking. But yeah, if they miss it, we'll have to catch them up.
I also posted them on the Facebook post.
Yeah.
as well.
Perfect. Okay, so I've got those two cut, and I'm gonna leave that die out because we're gonna need it for the next card.
I love this die.
It's pretty, eh? It's just a nice little different frame for a greeting. Okay, so I think we're ready to assemble now. We have all our little pieces, and I am going to start by attaching, I'm actually going to put a piece of tear tape onto my card front. On the reverse side, I'm going to stick it right along this diagonal so that I can put this purple Blackberry Bliss piece down. So, and I'm going from end to end on there just to secure that piece really well. So there.
Is this the same lady, Laura?
No, this is my own design.
You don't need that lady.
Nope, didn't need it. Once I got warmed up, I was good. All right, so I'm going to just take that tape off, and I'm going to make sure, I don't know if you can see, but on this edge here, right there. There's a little bit of tape overhanging. I don't want that overhanging, so I'm just going to fold it back. And then what I'm going to do is take my Blackberry Bliss, and I'm just going to lay it, and it will overhang my page, and that's intentional. And I just want a really thin strip to show. So I'm just eyeballing it to get that correct. So that works for me. And then what I'm going to do is just take my paper snips, and I'm going to cut off the excess here. And you can certainly use your paper trimmer if you have that handy, but this is such a small amount of paper, it's just very easy to trim this up. And now it matches the edges of my page. Everybody following that?
Yeah.
Okay. So then the next step is to add this foil on the bottom. And the foil should go from the bottom corner up to the top. You should have a little bit of extra to use as your base to glue it down. It's gonna look like that. So when I flip it over, I can see where I'm gonna be able to put tape, and that's gonna be along this top edge, along this side, because that's where I have some base to cover that with. And then I'm also going to attach some glue along here, and that should adhere this all together really well. So I'm gonna go this side up
Laura,
and put tape, yep.
I'm going to mute myself for a moment and
Okay.
well, I did already, but I'm gonna hop into the room just to say hello to them over there and see how they're,
Okay,
and then I'll come
sounds
back.
good. Sounds great. All right, and I'm gonna put tape along that end, and then I'm gonna put tape along, just along that diagonal edge of Blackberry Bliss that we have previously stuck down. So it'll look like that. Everyone's following me?
Yeah.
Having a little trouble, but I'll see it as we go.
Okay. Just gonna plug my phone in so I don't lose power. There we go. Check my feed. Okay, there we go.
And a
So
little,
everybody's caught up to this?
nope, just 1 second. Okay, along the lawn.
Yeah, you're going to go along one long on the foil and one side,
One side, okay.
and then along the diagonal.
Got that. Okay,
Let's see,
Okay.
a little off.
yeah.
It's a little off.
Yeah, I'm wrecking this paper.
Uh-oh.
I should have used glue.
Oh, you know what? Did I tell you? I put it on the wrong side on mine.
Okay, which,
It's okay.
take it off.
I'm gonna take it off if you take it off very, very carefully, it should, if you've used tear tape, it should come off. I just roll it up off of there.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Just gently roll it. And it's gonna go along this side. Oops. So that with my front facing it, it's like this.
Oh, I think I was right. Ah, I think I did it wrong to start. Okay, hold on.
Ah, there.
You okay, Wendy?
No, I'm
No, I'm
not
confused.
straight. It's because I should have used glue instead of the tape, and then I could have maneuvered it properly.
You could have mushed it together.
Yeah, I almost did and then I didn't.
I
I'm
see.
not sure why.
Okay.
Do you have undo, Wendy?
What?
Do you have undo?
Not on this, I'm afraid.
Back.
The bottle undo is, I'm not even exaggerating, is absolutely amazing. You put it on if you've glued or taped or score taped or anything, something wrong. And you can take it all off and your paper dries with no stains or anything.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's
Where
a
did you get
miracle.
that?
I think I got mine at the cottage or at Scrapbookers Anonymous, and it's an absolute must. And your paper will dry, and it dries very quickly, and there are absolutely no stains, and then you can reposition everything.
I think we need that.
It's unreal. It's this. I'll show you the bottle,
Hang on, let me spotlight you.
and it comes with a little thing at the top that helps you put it around the edge. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I wouldn't go to a crop or anything without this.
Huh. All right, well, I'll have to look into that because that sounds amazing.
It is. It's incredible. And the first time I did it, I was so scared. I thought, oh my God, everything is stained now. And it dried within a few minutes, not a mark on the paper.
Very cool. I have our old adhesive eraser, which I like. I wish they had it back, but I mean, that doesn't work on any of your wet glue. So
No, this stuff works on score tape on everything, and then it just rolls right off, and you just, in fact, a lot of the times you don't even have to retape. Your tape's still good, but I usually take my tape off and start fresh.
Well, I'm gonna have to get a gallon of that stuff.
Oh, trust me,
Right.
that was my first bottle.
There, I trimmed it to even out the sides, so now that
good.
makes me happier.
That works.
And I'll
All
just
right.
put a little gem where I tore the paper.
There you go. Yeah, you can put something for sure. All right, I am going to now glue mine down here very cautiously and carefully. All right.
Oh,
So
mine is backwards. That's what I've done. I've done mine backwards.
how'd you do it backwards?
I don't know. Like it's angling the wrong. Because I
See?
accidentally didn't put it on the right side of the
Oh,
yeah.
that's
so I-
okay. It still works. It's just more subtle.
yes.
It'll be fine. Okay, so from here, what we're gonna do is take the shorter piece of ribbon. Oh my goodness, my words. And we're going to figure out where we want that placed by also figuring out where we're gonna layer these two square stitched pieces.
Oh.
So I want mine. You don't want it, I want my ribbon to end up where my square is going to have the points here essentially at the center. So you need to know where you're placing this to know where you're going to place the ribbon. So your squares don't end up, or diamonds in this case, because we're putting them off skew over the edge of the front of your card. So this is where mine is going to go. You figure out where yours is going to go. And then I'm going to use some glue dots, assuming I can find them, to attach that down. And I am just going to.
Laura,
that
may I
up.
see a picture of the full card?
Absolutely. Is it not on screen anymore?
It's just shifted up a bit, that's all.
I think I had, so here's a picture of the full card.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to glue my ribbon down and then I'll try to get that right into position again. So I just take the ends of my ribbon and I wrap it around. For that first one, I used the take your pick tool to pull up the glue dot. Normally I do put the ribbon down on the roll and pull the glue dot up that way. But because I already had my ribbon in a very specific placement, I wanted to maintain that placement. And then I just wrap that other end of the ribbon around. So that's in place. Whoops. And I'm going to now layer my two stitched squares together. I think it's a good thing we have a little bit of buffer between this and our next, well, our next session is really lunch, but it looks like it's going to take us a little more time to get through this, but that's okay. That's why we buffered ourselves. So all I'm doing,
Great job so far.
thanks. All I'm doing here is layering the Very Vanilla onto the Blackberry Bliss. And I'm layering it flat. So just with tear tape, but you are welcome to also do it with liquid glue if you want that extra movability to it. And it's just being centered in there. From there, I'm going to turn mine on an angle so that I can work with the placement of my flowers within that space. And I'm going to start with the larger one, which is going to go down in the center. And
Hot it or just flat?
you can just put it, mine are flat. You could raise it if you wanted, but only my squares are raised on my sample card. But you can certainly go rogue and, you know, go your own way with that if you wanted. So my large flower is going down flat within that space. And then I'm going to nest my smaller flowers on either side. And because they are not going down completely, they won't be on that triangle, oh my gosh, that diamond completely. If you look at my design here, they are lifted up here and lifted up here. So I'm just gluing a small corner of them down so that the rest of it is floating. So this one's just gonna go kind of like that. I'm not too picky with the placement of these flowers, wherever it feels like it looks good to you. That one's gonna go there. So that part is almost done. We just have these little yellow flowers to add. These are cut in crushed curry. And I have some mini glue dots that I'm going to use to add those, but you could certainly use our regular glue dots. If you have any of the, what are these called? These little glue dots left from your kits last night, you could use these because these are smaller than the glue dots that Stampin' Up sells on a roll. So I really like using these up for this type of thing, but I do have an open box of minis, so I'm going to use that if I can get it out of there. That way we just don't have a lot of glue hanging off our projects.
So I'm sorry, I was redoing my Together Forever stamping. So
Okay.
the large flower is on dimensionals or flat?
It's flat.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I messed up my Together Forever stamping, so I had
That's
to
okay.
restamp them on the other side.
Okay. Well, that's why we have two pieces of paper, or two sides to the paper, right?
Precisely. Thank goodness.
Very true. That's the one thing I miss when we're using blends, is that you can't do that. You don't have that extra leeway for mistakes. All right, so my crushed curry little flowers here are just gonna, you can kind of place them wherever you want. I just felt this had a little bit too many holes for me, and I wanted to fill that in a little bit. So I thought these were, it's a good way to use these little guys that come from this set. So mine are now pasted down, and I'm gonna use my take a pick tool, and I'm going to attach my bling to the center of those. I don't know how I lived without this tool.
I know, I love that.
I use it for everything now. All right, So that is pretty much done. And I will now raise it with some dimensionals to go in the middle of my page. And I only put them in all four corners. I know some people, if it was bigger, I might put one in the middle, but I don't feel like this one needs that extra support there. So those are pop dotted, and I'm just gonna peel the backing off and add those to the front of the card. Okay. And then you can add your Together Forever on there. Just, you know, figure out how that's going to work. I will likely use a little bit of dimensionals and maybe some glue if I want to stick those down to the edge of my diamonds.
So I'm sorry, Laura, you put the diamond on with dimensionals?
I put the diamond on with dimensionals. Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. And I'm putting the Forever Together or Together Forever on with dimensionals as well. And with that, I'm again cutting some of the strips off of my leftovers from some mini dimensionals. I don't know if you've noticed, but the edge on those is significantly thicker than the edge on your regular dimensionals. So I just cut myself a strip off of that, and I'm literally just filling in the space that I need on these long pieces to create a strip. Whoops.
Okay, so now you need to mute this one, or it's going to go in there and cause feedback.
Okay, so that's on there, and I think that strip is perfect for this one. And just glue those down. And I'm not going to lie, the last step on this is kind of fiddly. And it's adding that the bow and this pretty heart charm to the card. So the way I did that was to string some, what is this? This is linen thread through my heart. And I tied the knot on that as close as I could to the heart. I didn't give you a lot of thread here because you really don't need a lot. You are going to tie that knot, doubling the string as close as you can to the heart. Okay, can you see that? So you're just getting that. So you're looping the strings together and you're tying them in a knot. Okay, from there, you're going to take your longer piece of the beautiful Blackberry Bliss sheer ribbon, and you're going to thread that through the little loop that we've left here. Try to hold that up higher to the camera so you can see what I'm doing. You're just going to thread that through there and bring it to the center of your bow. And I tied a knot to try to get that to stay in place, because I want that hanging right down from the center of my bow. So that's all I did. And then I cut off these really long tails because I don't want that on the card at all. So I've got that. And then from there, it's just tying a bow as you normally would. Which of course is always more difficult to do on camera than off camera. There we go. Okay, so then when I was doing that, I just tried to hide that little knot so that it's going to end up not front and center. Like you can actually see it here. Something else you could do, I suppose, is just attach that to your card and then pop the bow over top of it. But this works. Okay, so there's my bow. And I'm going to just attach it on here with a glue dot.
Laura,
Yes,
before you attach it, could you put the bow closer to the camera so I can
absolutely.
just see how you did that? Okay,
Okay,
all right.
okay. So I'm going to attach that with a glue dot. Whoops. Okay, so that's down. I'm just going to trim the ends of my ribbon a little bit. I don't want them quite so long. And that one is finished and can be attached to our card base, and it's going to layer over that entire card base completely. So I think I'll leave you to do that part of it after, and we'll move on to our next card. I'll give you guys a half a minute to catch up if you're still tying your bow. And we'll move to the next card, and then we'll have this class completed and you can take your lunch break, because I am now cutting into your lunch break. I apologize for that. We did give you an hour and a half just in case we needed to go over, but oh, actually, before we do that, I guess we need bingo numbers.
I was just gonna say.
Bingo, bingo. Okay. Back here, and I can share my screen. Okay, so everyone should see bingo numbers now, yes?
Yes,
Okay, so we were on G55 was the last number we called. The next number is N41. B5. I29. O62. And B4.
I wrote those down, so I'll post them.
Perfect. All right. So our last card is this one here. And I hope you're not like me. I have buried my supplies. So I need to unbury them. All right. You should have for this one your black card base. And in your black card base, you are going to have a piece of copy paper. And that's just going to help us assemble the card. You should have a piece of the flowered paper. Not everyone has the same flower. There just wasn't enough to cut everybody the same, but it's virtually or all very similar. You should have a piece of the pink foil, and you should have another piece of the black, it looks like a lattice pattern to me. I'm gonna set aside my card base. I don't need that quite yet. In your bag of goodies, from here, you can pull the of and the L. You can pull, there should be a white strip that may have been in your card if you were given a long one. You can pull these beautiful matte dots. There is a mat for the love. There is a shape from the Stitch So Sweetly dies package. And there is the white heart that is from the center of the first card that we made. So the only piece you should have left over from that little bag is this heart, which is the heart from the first card that we made from the Rococo Rose. So you're welcome to use that on another card somewhere along the line. I encourage you to use that on another card somewhere along the line. And this one, we only have one thing to stamp and cut out. So I would suggest we get that out of the way first. So I'm just gonna move aside all of my little pieces. And we're gonna stamp and cut out the "you more." So if you don't have that mounted onto a block, you're gonna wanna do that now. And that is gonna be stamped in the Memento or black ink if you don't have Memento. Bring in my foam pad. And just make sure you stamp it so that you have a little bit of edge, because we are going to cut it with the same die that we used to cut the last, the Together Forever card. So again, I'm just going to bring in that mini cut and emboss machine.
Ah,
Uh-oh.
I dropped an ink pad. It's gone all over the place.
Oh no.
Sorry, I just have to do a little ink.
A little cleanup.
There we go. Oh, my baseboards need dusting.
It's amazing what you notice when you drop something. All right, so my Love You More is down. And I'm just gonna run this through the machine.
That same die, Laura?
That same die we used last time, yep, that'll fit. So it's the medium greening die.
Dancing all over my pad.
All right, moving that stuff out of my workspace. And we now have all the pieces that we need to, start assembling. But before we start assembling, we need to color our pink. So does everyone have their blending brush that hopefully you registered early enough to get free? And if you don't have this, then you can use a sponge.
I might be hoarding those brushes at this point.
Well, I'll be honest, I've got a stash. And you can see there's only a couple of colors that have been used here.
Will you keep them in a tin like that, or will you go for like some special kind of storage?
No, I'll just keep them in a tin like this. They're on my rolly cart where I have all of my tools that I use kind of all the time, and they'll just stay there really handy. I don't have enough room on my desk where I'd have them on my desk, but.
Stamp and Storage just came out with one, right?
I saw that. Oh,
Of course they did.
I have a different set of brushes.
And that's fine. They all work the same way, really.
So mine is like all color coded and it's in a wheeled
Yeah,
base.
I like that.
those are great.
Yeah.
I've seen many people with those ones.
They're the same brush though as the Stampin' Up, and the Stampin' Up brush is beautiful and works awesome, but I had that set a long time ago.
I almost bought that set, Janet, and then they announced that these were coming out. So I was,
And these are beautiful. They're the same brush
yeah.
and they work awesome.
So for those of you who are new to using these, what you want to do is tap your brush in your ink to load it up with some ink color. And you want to make sure you have a scrap paper of some kind around your image, because we are going to color the whole image. You want to start off of the image, not, if you start on it, you're going to get a splotch of color on there. So I just start off my paper and I work my way towards it. And the nice thing about this blending brush is you can layer it to be as light or as dark as you want. And to, darken it, you're just going to keep adding color.
I'm sorry, what color are you using?
Oh, I'm sorry. I am using Blushing Bride. If you don't have Blushing Bride, you can pick Rococo Rose would go okay on here. I think Janet is using Sugar Plum because
I
that was
actually
something she
found
has.
Blushing Bride.
Oh, did you? Good.
Because I remembered at Christmas time when we did the paper pumpkin in December, it had a small Blushing Bride in it.
Oh, there you go.
So I pulled that out last night. But I
Perfect.
think Roco Rose, or sorry, Sugar Plum, I think it would be beautiful.
Yeah, I think it would. So you're just going to keep working in a circular motion on here until you have the ink covered enough for your taste. There's no right or wrong amount. And I am going to move my paper around so that I can hold on a different spot and work that spot where my hand was. I'm just reloading my brush every so often and then restarting off the side of the page and coming back on. This is just a really easy way to color some of these black and white images and to make backgrounds and all kinds of stuff you can do with this. You would have seen some of the options. I think Alana did some options at last week's virtual launch. And if you missed them, then you need to go back and review them, especially now that you have a blending brush.
Yeah,
So
there was
I'm going to stop there. Mine is a little darker this time than I did the first time around, but I quite like it. So you choose when you want to stop. And
I
then
like
don't
the
know
tip
about
Alana gave us last weekend about tapping it off on the silicone mat. And then if you wanted to, you could re-pick it up.
right. You could do that too. And
Yeah.
I don't wash mine. I've just been cleaning them off by kind of running some of the color out on my scrap piece of paper. And my intent, you can see on my handle, this is going to be for all my pinks. I'm getting one brush per color family. So
I saw a tip the other day that I intended to do on mine. I just hadn't had time before last weekend. Was if you punch a little circle of cardstock
mhm.
in whatever color tone. So like if it's your, say, bluey greens, you could punch a Bermuda Bay or Coastal Cabana or Pool Party. You can use that brush in all of those colors, but punch one of those, just like a 1/4 inch circle.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys can see me, just attach it with a glue dot to the top of your brush. And then
Yeah.
you can easily see what color
Yeah.
you can coordinate. So many
Gotcha.
different ways to label them.
Oh, for sure. Well, and quite honestly, I don't even know if you need that because the bristles do become colored. So you can probably just look at the bristles in most cases.
That's true.
Okay, so once you've got that done, if you look at my original card, the layering goes from left to right. So the first piece that goes down is this black and white lattice piece. And what I've done is given you a piece of copy paper that matches the size that we're aiming for that layer. And the reason I did that is because otherwise it's really hard to make sure that you're allowing yourself enough room on any of these layers to end up with the right size. So this way you can layer this black and white piece at this end. You can put this next piece down next to it, and then your final piece should take up the rest of the space on there. But you can also figure out how much of that foil has to show or you want to have show by making sure that it's all lined up to the edge of the paper. That makes sense.
Yes.
And so you're gluing right to the copy paper?
I am gluing right to the copy paper.
That's a brilliant tip.
I do that all the time, except I tend to use cardstock. Just to give it a little more texture, but the copy paper is perfect.
Yeah. So I am just going to put some tear tape down on my pieces here.
I've got to
Uh-oh.
do it like this.
Wendy's giggling.
Oh, well, it's just that the copy paper is the same color as the paper I'm working on, so I can't tell the top to the bottom. I had to change it.
That could be difficult. I was gonna pull up my silicone mat for, well, mine's grid paper, but this will just make it easier to see.
I'll do it the other way here.
And you still, oh, see, mine went down crooked. So I know I'm gonna have to trim this up, but that's okay. It's at least giving me a really good anchor for this.
All right. I am having a disaster with tape today.
Tape or ink?
Both, apparently. Is that,
What'd you put in your coffee mug?
well, clearly not enough of something. All right. I'm going to regroup and redo.
Oy. That went really crooked. That's okay though.
Is that white paper 5 1/4 by 4?
I believe that is correct. Yes. Yes, it is. And speaking of measurements, I will post the measurements for all of these cards later today. I don't know if I'll get it done before like on my lunch break or not, but they will be posted in the file section of our Facebook group so that you can go back and find the measurements and make your own cards if you wanted to use this layout again. And we'll do the same thing for the ice cream class and for Alana's class as well. Okay, so I'm just going to put my last piece on, and then I'm going to take my paper to the trimmer because I was clearly not very straight this morning. And I have got my edges a little bit off. So I want to trim up so that I'm not seeing that white. So. All right, my card front just got the slightest of hair trims so that you cannot see any of that copy paper now. And I did go a little bit wider, you'll see on my foil, just to give it a slightly different look. And from there, I'm going to layer it onto my black cardstock. I think I gave you guys all a piece of white to put on the inside. I hope I did, because I clearly forgot to cut one for myself. If not, I hope you can cut yourself a little bit of white. You think I did?
I think we all have white. No, you didn't, but I think we all have white. I don't
Okay,
think it's
good.
a big deal.
Good, good. So I'm just gonna put some tear tape around the edges of this card front, and then it's just gonna go down on the front of my card base. And trying to make sure that that's pretty straight, which I think it is. So there's the front of our card now assembled. And it's now just assembling these minor pieces that need to go on top. And they are going to get layered together. So I'm going to start by gluing my love, whoopsie, to my frame. And again, if I had to do this over again, like I said, I really wasn't thinking when I was cutting these, but I would probably use adhesive sheets. But since I didn't, we're just going to use a little bit of glue in some strategic spots, just like we did with the always. Just with this one, be careful how much glue you put down because you don't want it coming out and overflowing. The foil doesn't allow you to really release that extra glue very nicely, I've learned. It will dull the foil, so you do want to be strategic with those. So there's the L. And then I just did a little bit in this bigger part of the O and along the edge of the O, the V here, and in the thicker part of the E. And we just nest that onto the mat and we're good. You guys keeping up with that?
Yep.
Okay. So once you've got your love assembled, you can take that white heart, and again, I'm just going to use some Tombow glue on the back of this matting. And I'm going to glue it straight down on that heart. And then that heart is going to go with more liquid glue, or you could use Tear Tape in this case, straight down on that frame from the Stitch So Sweetly dies. And I'm going to use Tear Tape here because it's a little bit less messy and I don't have to fuss with the placement. So I just did it in a triangle on there. I'm going to pull the paper off maybe.
Really?
There we go. Are you still struggling with tape there, Wendy?
Now I moved on to struggling with the glue.
Oh, well, it's still an adhesive, so.
It is. I don't know what my problem is today.
It's just one of those days. Oh, I'm stuck to the table. Okay, should I use my silicone mat? So now this piece here, I did use dimensionals to raise it up on my card. So I will do that again. Oops, almost ended up backwards. So right about there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the Love You More. I'm going to just put some dimensional under the ORE portion, and the U is going to go flat on the heart. So I'm going to cut off a little strip of my dimensional edge from my minis. And I don't need much because I just want it under the MOR. And then I'm going to put a touch of glue on this other side. Oops. And pull the dimensional paper off and just layer that on right there like that. And then the last thing to do is take my black matte dots, and I have a large one and a small one. And I'm going to take the large one and put it in the bottom corner, and take the small one and tuck that right on top, just in a row. So it looks like that. And then you are done. So we've made 3 beautiful cards in this class. And when you are done, all said and done, once you make the remainder on your own, you will have 6 beautiful cards to share.
Awesome.
love
Thank you
these
very
all.
much. Very pretty.
Thank you.
I went rogue on this card.
I did a little bit too because I buggered up